Most people will have heard of the Vietnam War, but do you know about the conflict in Vietnam between the British and the Northern Vietnamese soldiers from the Viet Minh? During World War II, the Japanese occupied the French colonies known as Indochina. When Japan surrendered at the end of the war, Vietnamese guerrilla fighters seized control of Hanoi and proclaimed the Independent Democratic Republic of Vietnam. On behalf of the French, the British Army launched Operation Mastodon and arrived in Saigon to oversee the surrender of the Japanese army and maintain order until the French could return. Let's do this. Operation Mastodon, explained in 60 seconds. In September 1945, 20,000 British and Indian troops landed in Saigon. Rioting and looting were rampant, and Viet Minh guerrillas were slaughtering anyone against their cause. Unwilling to trade the Japanese imperialists for European occupiers, the Viet Minh launched a guerrilla war against the British. Major General Douglas Gracey, the British commander of the Allied forces, immediately declared martial law. His forces, accompanied by Japanese troops, whom he had deputized, engaged in bloody battles with the communists who were quickly defeated and agreed to a ceasefire. On the 10th of October, however, the communists broke the ceasefire, massacring a detachment of British engineers, and a few days later unleashed a fresh series of raids on targets around Saigon. However, the insurgents suffered more than 500 casualties and were repelled. The Allies went on the offensive, launching Indian infantry, artillery, and armour at the Viet Minh, as well as a battalion of Japanese troops. The combined operation killed more than 200 insurgents. Clashes continued north of Saigon throughout the winter. On the 3rd of January 1946, 1,000 guerrillas assaulted an Allied stronghold 40 kilometres northeast from Saigon at Bien Hoa. The Allies fought back in a firefight that lasted all night. Over 100 guerrillas were mowed down without a single Allied casualty. The French military gradually took over security, and by May, the last of the Indian and British combat troops departed. And there we have it. Okay, so not quite 60 seconds this time, but such an often forgotten conflict deserves a few extra seconds. During Operation Mastodon, the British lost 40 troops and the Japanese and French casualties about the same. The Viet Minh suffered more than 2,700 killed in action. The French indicated to the Viet Minh that they could recognise the new government as a free state. Ho Chi Minh spent 4 months in France trying to negotiate terms, but failed to reach an agreement. Once the British left, the French continued their fight until 1954, and then the US fought in a second Indochina War for a further 20 years. Both tragic Vietnam Wars cost more than 2 million lives. This episode has 2 interesting facts. So for the first one, it was that pesky Frenchman, Napoleon, who first conquered Vietnam, Laos and Cambodia, which became known as French Indochina and added them to the French colonial empire. The interesting fact number 2 is a strange twist, and it can only happen in war. The British ended up counting on the help from the Japanese forces, who they had previously fought against in World War II. Thanks for watching this 60-second episode about Operation Mastodon. Make sure you subscribe for more of these ridiculously fast and squashed together overviews of military history in 60 seconds.